When I look at the O.J. case, I got to admit, the whole case got me emotionally disturbed. I really don't know what to think. When I first started watching the trial about a year ago, first thing I saw was the opening statement of the prosecution. When Marshall Clark finished listing all the evidence they had against O.J., I said, O.J. did it. They may as well lock him up right now. I don't even know why they're going on with a trial, all that evidence. But I kept on watching till smooth Johnny Cochran got up and started breaking it down. Johnny Cochran got a point. They got too much evidence against O.J. Nobody could have been that damn stupid. And even if it was, no one man, even if it was, could have been that stupid. And even if it was, no one man could have made all them mistakes. How could one man drop one bloody glove at the crime scene, take the matching bloody glove to his own house, drip blood all up and down Rockingham Boulevard, blood in the bushes, blood in the grass, left his hat on top of one of the bodies, blood on the fence, blood on the outside of the Bronco, blood inside the Bronco. He couldn't have done it. He got to his house, climbed over the wall and broke in his own estate for what he lived there. Ain't he got to keep it a gate? Knocked on the wall, woke Cato's lazy, ignorant, no telling having ass up. O.J. couldn't have done all that. The O.J.'s couldn't have done all that stuff. And Johnny Cochran. Johnny Cochran's so smooth, he got O.J. thinking he didn't really do it.
And we are heading towards the trial of the century as former President Donald J. Trump heads to Manhattan to face off against the Manhattan DA's office in the hush money election interference trial. And we are set to make history here. I can't tell you exactly how big of a deal this is going to be because in all likelihood, we've never seen anything like it. But there is one thing we've witnessed previously that's been close, and that is the O.J. Simpson case, of course, where he was credibly accused of murdering his girlfriend and her lover on the side. I don't think up until this point, or up until that point in time, we'd ever really seen anything like that as well. I mean, I can't tell you how crazy it was at the time, even though I was, and I'm going to age myself here, a little 10-year-old tyke watching the NBA Finals. Do you know how crazy it has to be to cut away from the first NBA Finals without Michael Jordan in like 3 years to cut to a low-speed car chase on the interstate where nothing is going on, where nothing is happening, and the entire world is watching it like a mob attack the Capitol, just try and stop the peaceful transition of power from one president to another? It was wild. Bonkers, I tell you.
Takes this and just turns it over and down.
In this first half, we will send it to NBC News. Here's Tom Brokaw.
Thank you, Marvin. We are looking once again at pictures of Al Cowling's cars. It makes its way along a freeway in Los Angeles in the south central part of that area. And we are told by the California Highway Patrol that O.J. Simpson is in that car holding a gun to his head. He has been in touch with a police highway dispatcher saying he wants to be taken to his mother. He wants to see her.
Well, that was reminiscent of a number of Trump motorcades here lately. And also, as an aside, it's absolutely wild that we gave OJ a pass for fleeing the police while holding a gun to that man's head. Like, it's totally asinine that he managed to get away with that kind of behavior. But nonetheless, in some ways, Trump is like our modern day OJ, if you think about it, considering what OJ went to trial for. In this instance versus what he was actually convicted of and why he served a prison sentence. In similar fashion, Trump attempted to infect the entire country with COVID right before he attempted to overthrow the government and had a mob attempt to hang his vice president. And then he stole a bunch of classified documents before leaving office. And of all the ironic things that he could possibly face a criminal conviction for, in this set of circumstances, it involves banging a porn star without a condom. You can't make it up. Can't make it up. But one of the things that did save OJ at his trial was the fact that he did not take the stand to testify, which would have opened him up to a number of lines of cross-examination that probably would have been detrimental to his ultimate defense there. But let's hear from Trump about whether or not he intends to testify and take the stand in his criminal case.
You plan to testify in your trial in New York?
Yeah, I would testify, absolutely. It's a scam. It's a scam. That's not a trial. That's not a trial. That's a scam. If you read Jonathan Turley, if you read Andy McCarthy, if you read the legal, they said there's not even a case there.
Well, considering that he pled the fifth like 400 times in the deposition for his New York civil fraud case, maybe we shouldn't take his word for that. On the other hand, he did, however, testify in the E. Jean Carroll rape/defamation case, as well as the New York civil fraud trial. But on the other hand, that did end up eventually costing him $500 million in fines. So maybe it wouldn't be in his best interest to take the stand because, of course, given the results of the fraud trial where he was found to be not credible, we can only expect him to lie in this case. And if he does, well, that would result in his likely incarceration. But let's hear from him on whether or not he thinks he could be truthful under that set of circumstances.
Is it risky for you to testify?
I'm testifying. I tell the truth. I mean, all I can do is tell the truth. And the truth is that there's no case. They have no case. And again, you have to read the scholars, read all of the legal scholars. I haven't seen one legal scholar that said this is a case. And in fact, even you people said, oh, gee, that's too bad. This is the first one. All of them are scams. They're all about election interference.
Well, that is extraordinarily ironic because laundering money through your organization to your lawyer to pay off a porn star, to keep her silent and keep her from going public about an affair that you had with her while your wife was pregnant right before an election, but right after a tape dropped with you saying lewd comments that include grabbing people by the genitals as to not further damage your reputation, that is actually election interference. But that aside, I wonder what thoughts he might have about his chances as he faces off against the Manhattan DA's office in New York next week.
Can I just follow up on that? Why do you believe it is important for you to testify, take the stand in this upcoming trial? And what are you watching as jury selection begins in New York?
Well, you know, jury selection is largely luck. It depends who you get. It's very unfair that I'm having a trial there. It's very unfair that we have this judge who hates Trump and has tremendous conflict, as you know, tremendous conflict. Nobody can believe that this judge isn't recusing himself. The conflict is at a level that nobody's ever seen before. So I have that, and I have venue. We have all these things that we've asked for. They don't give us anything. It's a witch hunt that takes place in New York, and that is taking place, and it's very bad for New York, and it's very bad for the judicial system in New York.
It's quite funny there that he believes this particular judge has a conflict of interest, while he has nothing to say about his own handpicked judge in Florida in the classified documents case that is doing everything in her power to make sure that that case does not go to trial before the election, if ever. So I guess by those standards, I can totally see why he would have a problem with the behavior of this judge, holding him accountable and making sure he gets to trial on time. But look, it's not as though we can take Trump's word for this. Maybe we should take the word of someone who is infinitely closer to Trump than we shall ever be, and his thoughts and feelings on whether or not Trump is actually a criminal.
Everybody from around the world to come here, including hardened criminals,
Even the Republican Speaker of the House is well aware that Donald J. Trump is a criminal. And I know a lot of people are going to downplay the possibility of Trump being convicted in this case. But I do have to tell you that much like the O.J. Simpson trial, the evidence in this case is overwhelming. The Manhattan DA's office, they have everything. They have the documents. They have the checks that Trump was signing even when he was in the White House. They will have Michael Cohen testifying about the very nature of what these payments were for. They will have Stormy Daniels testifying. She could pick Trump's dick out of a lineup at this point. Although, to be fair, I can't imagine how difficult that would be, given that I'm sure there are very few people in America who paint their dick orange. But that's a topic for another discussion. They're going to have Hope Hicks testify about how she understood that the payment arrangements were to influence the 2016 election in order for Trump to win and take power as president of the United States. It's going to be one of the most open and shut things we've seen in a long time from such a person in a high profile and prominent position. And if you just take a step back, outside of this case in general, there's so much overwhelming evidence of not only Trump's criminality, but also his utter stupidity. And you can, like, again, to be caught on a hot mic saying that you can grab women by the genitals.
You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. I can do anything.
On the same day that Russia feeds Hillary Clinton's emails to WikiLeaks, and they dumped that as a distraction, and that gave you the impetus to cover up the Stormy Daniels affair even more. You have collusion with Russia that you lied about, saying you didn't have any contacts with Russia.
Former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon tonight out with bombshell accusations about that now infamous Trump Tower meeting. Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, campaign chairman Paul Manafort, and a Russian lawyer whom they were told had dirt on Hillary Clinton. In an explosive new book, Bannon calls the sit-down treasonous, unpatriotic, and he says Team Trump, quote, should have called the FBI immediately. Don Jr. has downplayed the meeting.
In retrospect, I probably would have done things a little differently. For me, this was opposition research.
His father has defended him.
I think from a practical standpoint, most people would have taken that meeting.
Because you can't get more ham-handed than having literal Russians in your namesake tower attempting to help you steal the election. And we know he's forking stupid. Like, you would be like, oh man, I can't believe someone would do all this insane stuff and leave all these trails of evidence. Well, of course you could. This is the man who tried to convince us that covfefe was a word. This is a man who stared directly into the forking sun, for God's sakes. He stared into the sun. This is a man who can't drink a bottle of water with one hand.
Thank you. Oh, they don't have water. That's okay. What? Oh, it's okay. Oh. In China, we also announced $250 billion worth in trade investment deals that will create jobs in the United States.
This is a man who couldn't pronounce the United States of America, even though he was the president of the United States of America.
The United States. Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is a man who got on national TV and told the entire country to inject disinfectant.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
This is a man who got on national TV and told a white supremacist group to stand back and stand by until it was time for them to come to the Capitol. And when he knew they were armed, told them to go down to the Capitol building and stop the transfer of power from him to President Biden.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
This is a man who, when he was informed that the mob was out of control and chanting about how they were going to hang his vice president, he sent out a tweet putting a target on that man's back, saying that he was responsible because he didn't have the courage to do what should be done.
CNN has learned that a former aide to Trump White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows told the House January 6th committee that then President Donald Trump suggested he approved of these chants that I'm sure you're familiar with now of hang Mike Pence that were coming from people on Capitol Hill, rioters there during the insurrection.
This man, on his way out of the White House, stole boxes and boxes of classified information, and when the FBI came down there to try and get them back, he had his lawyers move them around playing a shell game with them, like, oh, haha, not gonna get all of these. And then when the FBI came back and kicked his door in, he tried to say that the documents were planted by the FBI. And then he had the nerve to say, well, actually, they were his the entire time, and he had a right to them. This dude might as well have written a book called If I Did It, because he did it. And I think if you just take the entirety of this man's behavior and the context, along with the evidence that will be presented at this trial, will all come to the likely conclusion that he did in fact do it, and he is guilty, and a jury of his peers will find as such. And after Jeffrey Epstein, Henry Kissinger, P. Diddy, and now OJ, it's almost like we're wrapping up all the side quests before we finish the final boss at the end of the game in New York. And with all the evidence mounting against him, the only person who could probably have gotten him off is Johnny Cochran. Rest in peace. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Please feel free to share your thoughts below. And if you could, follow me on my own personal podcast, Pardon the Insurrection, now available on YouTube and everywhere else that podcasts are found.